All right, welcome back to the Slice. Lots going on in the tennis world. The Jannik Sinner ban announcement. Jannik Sinner is going to be out for 3 months, returning before the Rome Masters due to an agreement or a settlement that his team reached with WADA. Joao Fonseca wins his first tournament on the ATP Tour, marking a new era. I think we're in the Fons era. And Doha and Rio are ready to go. Djokovic is back. Alcaraz is wearing a camel, and Zverev is in South America. We're going to talk about it all here on the Slice because that's what we do. The Slice is presented by Betway. Thank you for being here. Now let's get into it. All right, people. Thanks for being back here. Welcome to the show. How have you been? If you're new here, thanks for subscribing. I'm Steven, the founder and the host of The Slice. And the biggest news I would say in the tennis world is the Jannik Sinner ban announcement. This was something that was hanging over the head of him for sure, and professional tennis in general. And so yeah, it's been announced that Sinner will be banned from pro tennis for 3 months, or now less than 3 months, but he'll be returning to action before Rome. And there's tons of opinions on it. And this was due to, he was supposed to have a hearing in April with WADA, and they have apparently reached a settlement. So Sinner's team and WADA have reached a settlement saying WADA was pushing for 1 to 2 years of a ban, and they settled on 3 months due to Sinner's team negotiating that with them. So it's insane. It's crazy to see the number one player in the world be banned. And yeah, it sucks. What I'll say on this episode, full breakdown coming on the podcast, which is going to be released tomorrow with JP Hovey. But what I'll say is this sucks for anyone. Doesn't matter if you hate Sinner because of this, you think he's guilty or you don't think he's guilty. It sucks for everyone. It sucks for tennis to have the number one player not playing. But if you're in the camp like I am, that you think he's innocent and you want to see him be playing, at least he's not going to miss a major. But if you're in the camp that thinks he's guilty, maybe you're happy to see this and you think this is enough punishment, but you probably don't. If you think he's guilty, you think he should be gone for 1 to 2 years. I don't know, but we're going to break it all down on the podcast. So check back tomorrow for that. Subscribe if you haven't to not miss it. And yeah, we'll have a lot to get into on that. The Slice is presented by Betway. Shout out to our Betway sponsor. I just put out some picks for Rio and Doha on the Betway feed. Just looking at the Doha outright winner odds, they got Carlos Alcaraz as the favorite. No surprises there at plus 137. They've got Djokovic at second favorite at plus 350 to win the tournament. Demon Hour next at plus 700. Medvedev at that at plus 900. So if you're going to bet the responsible way, use Betway. And shout out to them for being our partner. Also, shout out to Tennis TV at the Tennis TV. You're trying to watch tennis in the Middle East, in South America, any of the other ATP tournaments that are going on. How are you going to watch it? You have to use ATP or Tennis TV. It's the official streaming provider of the ATP Tour, and it's obviously the best way to watch tennis. I love the service. I use it every match I'm watching to go watch, be able to click back 10 seconds, rewatch a point, or just go through a match afterwards. The recording's up pretty much instantly, and they've got all these awesome retro matches up there. So check out Tennis TV. Use the link below to sign up if you haven't and get in the game. All right, shout out to our sponsors. All right, let's go from the top. Joao Fonseca wins in South America. This was absolutely nuts because it was in South America, but it was also in Argentina, and he's obviously Brazilian, and he had to play a bunch of Argentinian players en route to winning this title. He beats in the first round Echeverry, in the second round Correa, in the quarterfinals Navone, and in the final Sarandolo. So if you're an Argentinian tennis fan, you might be thinking like, this guy's my number one public enemy. Like, he's literally just beat 4 of our guys en route to winning a tournament in Buenos Aires. But if you're just a tennis fan in general, you should be stoked because this kid is obviously special. We've talked about it on the channel many times before, but this is kind of a new era where Fonseca wins tournaments and the forehand was on full display, even on the clay, just going through the court so easily. You can, part of what makes great forehands great is the opponent's respect of them. We've seen this with Alcaraz for a long time now. Why is the drop shot so effective? Because the forehand is so good. But with Fonseca, you see his opponents not even going for shots or guessing on shots when they wouldn't do that with other players because they just know the forehand's so big. So sometimes Fonseca will line up for a shot and the guy will move and he'll hit a winner that's not even really close to the sideline or baseline, but it's just the guy has to respect it so much that he, even on a clay court, guesses and gives that amount of respect to the Fonseca fear hand. So yeah, unbelievable scenes in Argentina. Fonseca wins his first title ever on the ATP Tour. He won the Next Gen ATP Finals last year, but he won a Challenger earlier this year before the Australian Open. But yeah, that's big time from Fonseca, and he goes into Rio now to potentially play Alexander Zverev in the semifinals, I believe. So we're gonna get into the draws here of Doha and Rio, and I guess we should start with Rio because we're there. So here we go. Let's throw the draw up on the screen. You can see it there. The Rio Open presented by Claro. And yeah, you got Zverev on the top. You see there, he said he's playing in South America instead of on the hard courts because he wants to get ready for the French Open, essentially. He wants to play as much clay as he possibly can going into it because he said he's got the French Open circled on his calendar. It feels like he's where he can win his first major, and that's his main goal right now in his career. So the number 1 seed is Zverev. The number 1 two seed was Lorenzo Musetti, but as you can see now, he had to pull out from a right calf injury that hasn't healed since Buenos Aires. So he's out, and Jaime Faria from Portugal is in there as a lucky loser. So the bottom half of this draw is wide open. Alejandro Tabilo's the 3rd seed. He's the highest seed on that bottom half. And Baez. So if you just look at all these guys in the bottom half here, one of these guys will be in the final. And as an ATP 500, these are like big points for these players. So on the top half, though, you've got Zverev, and then you've got, as a special entry, Joao Fonseca. You've got Nicholas Jarry, Francisco Cerundolo. So you got like the 4 best players in this tournament on the top half. And the crazy thing here is if you're looking at this and you're like, we want to see a great matchup, Fonseca versus Zverev in the semifinals would be awesome. For Fonseca to get there, he'll have to beat 2 guys that he beat last week in Buenos Aires. He'd have to beat Mueller, and then he'd have to beat Etcheverry, who he beat last week. So we know he can do it. And then he'd have to beat Francisco Cerundolo again, who he beat in the final of Buenos Aires, then to play Zverev. Zverev is also going to have to get through himself as he had a little bit of trouble in Argentina, and he said it's tough to win there if you're not Argentinian. So it seems like he was a little rattled from the crowd. But yeah, that's the draw in Rio. A bit of an interesting one with Musetti going down. Definitely not as much high-end talent, but a lot of opportunity there for guys like everyone on the bottom, but also for Fonseca again. Like, could you imagine if Fonseca comes through and wins in Rio after just winning in Buenos Aires? Like, he's already the king of Brazil for sure. I'm sure if you're a Brazilian tennis fan, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about the Fonseca vibe that's going on. But it's, he's already the king, and I can't wait to see what the atmosphere is going to be like at his matches in Rio. It's going to be absolutely berserk, I think, for sure. So that is crazy. Let's go now to Doha. We've got Carlos Alcaraz riding a camel. He's blending right in Qatar, and he's doing his thing, which is hilarious. And then you've got Djokovic coming back. He's back playing, I believe, his first tournament, right? First tournament since the Australian Open, since his injury. Came back earlier than he thought. Then it looked like, a lot of people had talked about it. They talked about it being like months, and it's about a month that he's been off here. So we'll see how his level is. He obviously is only playing if he feels like he's up to it. So yeah, let's take a look at the draw here. You should be able to see it now on the screen. It has already started. Carlos Alcaraz already won his first match versus protected ranking Marin Cilic. Great to see him back, 6-4, 6-4. I wasn't able to see the match, but he gets through. The big news from where this draw lands is Novak Djokovic is on his half, is on the Carlos Alcaraz half. And crazy enough, Djokovic plays Berrettini in the first round, a rematch of Wimbledon 2022 final, which is absolutely crazy. So, a rematch of the 2021 final of Wimbledon. Stefano Tsitsipas 6th seed, Jack Draper 8th seed. Jack Draper's through over Alexei Poprin. Alex Demonauer is the 2nd seed. Daniil Medvedev's the 4th seed. Andre Rublev's the 5th seed. So a lot more higher end talent. Obviously, the rank. You got 5 top 10 players here. And yeah, that's going to be a great tournament on the hard court. These guys are going to be, it looks like a great tournament in Doha. I would love to get there one day for this tournament. And yeah, Alcaraz outdoor again. He just came off the win in Rotterdam at the 500 there, so he's feeling good. And now with Sinner out, like Sinner was at the Doha tournament, and he would have been playing this week if the ban had not come into effect. And actually, interestingly enough, there was a video showing him practicing after the ban seemed to have gone into effect, because I think it went retroactive a few days, and you're not allowed to practice at a tournament venue apparently when you're under a ban. So that's interesting. I wonder, I don't think the ATP would probably do anything about that, or the ITIA or WADA, whoever, are they the ones like officiating like the kind of the nominal rules about the ban? I don't really know. Does anyone know? That's a good point. But Sinner was there in Doha, ready to play, but he will not be because of the 3-month ban that he is now serving. So yeah, let me know your thoughts below. Obviously, there's tons to go over there. We've got Djokovic and Alcaraz in Doha, and we've got Zverev and Fonseca now in Rio. And Fonseca, the crazy thing about him is he's just one of the big names on tour. Like he's he's the 10th youngest player to win an ATP title since the ATP Tour started. Alcaraz is slightly younger. He won UMAG, I believe, in 2021. But yeah, Fonseca now, how high is his ceiling? We've talked about. Is he going to join Sinner and Alcaraz? I think people are going a little crazy with that. There's a lot of great young talent on the tour, and there's a huge delta between Fonseca and Alcaraz and Sinner. Let's be clear. But this next crop of young guys like Mickelson, Fonseca, Lerner Tien, any other 18-year-olds that I'm missing, I think Fonseca is definitely the highest prospect out of that. And in 5 years, I could see him absolutely, or less than that, 1 year, 2 years, being right there. How soon will he be contending and actually winning majors? I don't know. 5 years would be too long, I think. 1 year would be too soon, I think. But I definitely believe he's going to get there challenging for majors and winning them in the future. And I think it's awesome to have a South American have this high of a ceiling. So we've got the Europeans dominating the ATP Tour for so long. And now we've got a South American represented. North Americans have been represented because they get the most hype, especially the Americans. But, to be fair, Shapovalov showed that why he was one of the most highly touted prospects in the last 20 years when he won in Dallas last week. So yeah. So anyways, that's a preview of Rio and Doha. Quick overview of the Sinner ban and an overview of the Fonseca win in Buenos Aires. Leave your comments below. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the podcast, where we will get more in depth on the Sinner situation. And until then, have a good time.